This is Get Inspired with Dr. Barb. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Get Inspired with Dr. Barb. It's a podcast on innovation in education. I interview incredible guests who have something to contribute to changes in education. We talk about initiatives, we talk about strategies, we talk about platforms that can bring change. And to me, it's not so much about that we have to improve education, but in my mind, we have to improve children's experiences with education because it's about them. How do they feel with changes we make? Do they work or not? So that's what I think it's very important to think about. And today we have an incredible guest. Her name is Jess Toft. And she has an incredible initiative, a platform we would like to hopefully talk a little bit more about, find out what it is, how it can help children, but also teachers and parents, because everybody is in the business of education the way I see it. Welcome to the show, Get Inspired with Dr. Barb, my dear friend. I hope I can call you that way.
Yeah.
Jess Toft.
Thank you, Barbara. It's an honor to be here. I'm super grateful for the opportunity. So thank you.
You're very welcome. Really, honor is mine. And I just want to mention to everyone that Jess is an educator, has background in early childhood education, but also special education. But she is also an enthusiasm of artificial intelligence and using it in all different ways. And someone who adopted AI right from the beginning, because if there is something new, and I also think that way we shouldn't be afraid. We should try it. We don't want to be behind. That's not a good thing. But also, recently, Jess has embarked on a new initiative, something I'm following. I'm very fascinated with that. It's called Bully Body. And she has collaborated with Glee Labs company that helps in setting up initiatives like that. And I know that for our audience, they probably have a lot of questions like what it is about, what you're talking about. And we will find out all about that because I think it can substantially help our schools. Because in the school, let's be honest, the way mental health has been handled for years, it really hasn't changed. You will have a guidance counselor, maybe one for, I don't know how many children, and they are different for maybe younger children, different for a little bit older. You might have a social worker, but I don't think you might have a psychologist whose role is primarily to do those assessments because children need to be, for some reasons, assessed if they have any kind of learning difficulties. So they are primarily they deal with that. But beyond that, there is really not that much happening. And it's all in the hands of teachers who have so much to do. They have so much on the plate. And it's true, a lot depends on them, but maybe they could use some help from other initiatives. Maybe schools can collaborate with someone like Jess, and we will find out how this could be done. If you could tell us just a little bit about background as an educator, why did you choose that path, and how was it for you? How do you remember it? Because you're not a teacher right now.
Yeah. So my degree is in early childhood and youth development. So it's more of the psychology behind how kids grow up to be who they are and all of the different aspects that go into it. So I started in early childhood in childcare centers. I taught birth through school age, and then I directed multiple centers, and then I started a substitute teaching company for the chain that I was directing because there was a problem, and the problem then was staffing. And there were certain times of the year that we had an abundance of staff, and then there were the other times of the year that we didn't have enough to even meet licensing standards. So, I mean, there's always a problem And I believe that we can always find a solution, but sometimes we have to try really hard to find the solution. And my daughters got to go to the child care center that I worked at until they went into school districts. So I got to watch them interact with other students, with teachers, with the staff. And I got to see the whys behind everything, which was really helpful because I think you always need to figure out why something's happening in order to find that solution. Well, when my daughters were in the child care center, there were a lot of behaviors, especially out of my oldest daughter, that were unusual. And there were very similar behaviors that were unusual at that time in other children her age. And so I paid attention to those things. And, looking back now, after receiving her autism diagnosis, I deep dove into educating myself on autism, which is how I wound up teaching. Well, I'm an educational assistant in special education for a school district, and I work with students who are autistic. And I can now tie their behaviors to my daughter's behaviors to the students back when my daughter was in the child care center all together. And while they're all very different, there's some common threads. I believe that we've been putting kind of a band-aid on things and not preventing problems like we now can with tools like Bully Buddy. So that's kind of what led to Bully Buddy, is to support the teachers, to support the targeted person, and to support the parents. Because, like I found out when my daughter was being bullied a few years ago in second grade, it's hard on everyone. It's hard, obviously, on the student going through it, and it's difficult for the teachers to be able to do anything about it or even see what's going on, because bullying isn't done as a punch in the face typically. It's a lot of small targeted events that happen not in front of people. Mostly it happens in a way that's very psychologically damaging, and if we're not able to see it and do something about it on a consistent basis, it leads to horrendous mental health issues in the long run, especially in neurodivergent people. So that's kind of what birthed Bully Buddy.
I love how you mention the bullying that occurs these days. And I remember and thank you so much for sharing about having an autistic child too. It really gives you another set of lens, right? You see more because obviously you have your own child. You learn about them, you learn about autism. So there's so much, I think, that we know. Essentially, we are experts, maybe not so much on autism, but we are experts on our children and therefore quite a bit on autism, I think. And when I asked my child about bullying in high school, in school, for my book about that, actually, my daughter did mention, Mom, bullying has changed. It's not like somebody hits someone or tells them something absolutely nasty or gives them a threat. It's like so nuanced. It's like this gaslighting, like this subtle ways that sometimes it makes you think that you are maybe it makes you think that what is it? You can like you struggle with is this bullying? Is somebody bullying me? What's happening? Oh, it's just in my head, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it skews your sense of reality. And I think that's the intention.
I think it is. I really believe also it is. And somehow, I don't know how these bullies they must learn from each other. And right now there are things on social media they can probably observe too. Somehow they have to learn this behavior. Maybe it also comes from their families. I don't know. I'm just thinking there's all different ways. And how then this platform, your initiative, how specifically would it help in preventing or handling these kind of Instances of bullying that are not so easy to even sometimes define. Yes, this is bullying.
Right. Well, it picks up on patterns, I think, and which is one of the most empowering things that we tools that we can share with neurodivergent individuals who are often really great at picking up on patterns. Because once you can recognize the pattern, you can recognize what actually is happening and that your reality is what it is, not what someone else wants you to believe it is. So it picks up on the pattern, it validates the user's the reality, and then it shows it in evidence, black and white, what's going on to the administration or the parent or the because bullying doesn't just take place in schools. It's in the workplace, it's in family dynamics, it is in relationships, it's all over the place. And it really, when it comes down to it, it is the pattern of behavior that you need to show. So we will support the user, validate their reality, and then we will timestamp and document everything as it happens and then support them with results. Because I think that's one of the hardest things is when you're being bullied, especially as an adult, you're told to document, to just document everything. But that in itself is really quite traumatizing because you're reliving the events that are confusing and you don't necessarily know what you should be writing, what you should be remembering because of the confusion. And you also, I think oftentimes the bully wants you to feel like you're to blame. You're the reason for their behavior. So documenting and feeling like you might be to blame is really a challenging thing to do because then it almost feels like you might be telling their story. So
Wow.
we kind of take that whole piece of power away from the person with the bullying behavior. And again, the person with the bullying behavior, it's coming from their own place of insecurity, their own hurt. It's coming from a place of weakness. It's coming from learned behaviors and life experiences. So it's hard not to have compassion for them once you realize it, but also you need to realize that it's not your fault and you can't feel like you need to sympathize with them because they need to be held accountable so that they'll learn not to treat people that way.
This is very interesting. Let's say I like how the tool plays this role of this like this personal assistant, right? It helps the child, the teen to, yes, you're right. You have to have evidence. You have to document all that stuff. And depending on the nature of communication, if you communicate with people with emails, it's kind of easy to document. You just have a bunch of emails. But if that's a conversation, I don't know, in the classroom or by the locker, it's like how do you document? You don't record people, right? So it really becomes kind of overwhelming for children. So when the kid, a teenager, finds out about the tool, oh, there is something cool that I can use that will help me uh, with bullying, with preventing this or with handling that. What do they really do? Do they get like some kind of like a workshop explanation from you or someone else? How does it, if you could walk us through the how the child starts working with bully body, like what exactly is happening? What do they do? What from whom they hear about what to do about it?
Yeah. Well, okay. So we are in the testing phase of Bully Buddy. We've gone from finding our expert.
Mm-hmm.
Our expert, Dustin Dean, is amazing. He has worked in the field of mental health for 20 plus years. And we've worked with him to do Q&As, to train our AI as we use a precise model. So it's not open AI. We're not replacing anyone. We're taking what we know as experts in the field. And we are just kind of making an extension of ourselves. And our AI does not answer questions it's not trained to answer. So it's very, very safe. But we're partnering with people like the Boys and Girls Club of Schenectady, New York, Cadre, which is a social media platform for mental health. We have a couple of other ones that are on their way that I can't mention yet, but some really great partnerships. So we will have Bully Buddy, the standalone tool that anyone can use. And then we'll have it implemented into systems, and we will train those versions to specifically meet the needs of the users. So if we're working with an adult population, we will train it to cater to that population. Or if we're working with a neurodiverse population, like with the Boys and Girls Club, we are training that one to be specified towards teaching and educating teachers about neurodiverse population, and so that they can support their students better. We're growing in a very unique way where we don't want to replace OpenAI. We don't want to replace people. We want to use AI with our knowledge to help.
So if I understand correctly, and by the way, when you mentioned Schenectady, that's like 20 minutes from here, 25, from where I live.
Fun! I was just down there recently.
Well, there you have it. Isn't it interesting? I don't think there is another Schenectady, and you mentioned Schenectady, New York, so there is only one, and it's not far from Albany, where
Very
I live
cool.
close to Albany. So if I understand correctly, another team, a team of, let's say, counselor, psychologists, they could use this tool.
Hmm.
And or the school could also use this tool in their counselors, their psychologists can use the tool. Like you said, it's not like something that is replacing counselors or psychologists, right? Because we think we often would think like you go on ChatGPT. Well, there are people who use ChatGPT as a psychologist, and we've heard about it, asking questions, but that's not obviously what you are doing. This is much sophisticated, and it's not about replacement, but it's about helping people, helping professionals who can provide advice in being a little bit more efficient. I think instead of like helping in their job, but also helping those who need to have evidence to somehow being able to gather the evidence about bullying, about gaslighting, and all these different things. So, what would it be a little bit easier or more efficient for, let's say, a counselor or psychologist in the school if they use the tool? What would they expect as far as how that would change their work, improve it, modify? If you could tell us a little bit about that, if possible.
Right. Well, instead of supporting the student while they go through it without any real means to an end, instead of putting a band-aid on things or dealing with them after the fact, they're empowering the student by supporting them through this tool. And then with an outcome, with real life solution, to be able to say, okay, well, this is happening every day at recess. Their mood changes, or they're documenting a lot of events that are flagged as red, which would be manipulation or bullying. So then they can support that student because they now see by tracking what's going on that they need to be outside at recess, and they can stop it. They can be consistent. I think a lot of the times teachers hear about these little things that happen, and they maybe right away will take it seriously and really like lay down the law. But then the next day or 3 days from then, when that student comes and tells them another little thing, it kind of gets to the point of they don't know what else to do. And to expect a teacher to have the energy to constantly make a big deal out of these little things every single day is wearing on the teacher, on their time. It's taken away from other students' time with the teacher. It's taken away from the time the teacher needs to do other things. And it really is just an empowering way to support students and teachers with a solution.
So would, for instance, psychologist or counselor, would it be possible with that tool, let's say counselor and or therapist, psychologist, these are professionals usually in school, I think, they could tell the child something like that. Well, listen, Johnny, I actually have a tool here. You just told me that this, Peter has been bullying you and telling you all kinds of things. You're not sure exactly if this is bullying or not based on what Peter says to you. And here is the tool that will kind of help you in getting down some of the words or sentences or phrases Peter tells you. So then you can come back and we can look at it, look at the evidence, and decide if it's really bullying or not. Would that be possible with the
Yeah.
tool?
Yeah, so they would give the student the tool. The student can tell Bully Buddy what's going on. Bully Buddy will also offer suggestions like breathing techniques. Bully Buddy will guide the user to go inward for their power and to not give the bully their power anymore by not reacting. And not reacting. I think the only way that someone can powerfully not react is to understand what's going on. So the support helps them understand that the bully is doing this from their own weakness, their own insecurities. It's not you, it's them. And you get to just tell Bully Buddy what's going on. Let Bully Buddy do its job by tracking the progress and then reporting to the authority in charge what is happening, so they can then do something.
That sounds really, really cool. So Bully Buddy would be like this. It could be in the form of like a voice, or just a student could read about it. In what forms can the child access this information? In what kind of modalities? Can be like a little character talking to the child
Mhm. Yeah.
about that
So
would
so
be.
yeah, we'll have voices and characters,
Mhm.
and they can talk to it or they can type whatever their preference is, and then it will speak back to them.
That is so cool. And this is when they get these answers, the answer doesn't come from a real person, right? It
Right.
comes from the system.
Yep.
But these are just like basic information pieces that you don't have to have a person, real therapist speaking with you, that can come later. And how do you envision this develop? Or maybe you already think of something like that. Like how can, I'm just thinking how people working in the school district, again, psychologists, counselors, can they have any input, like eventually how the platform can be improved, what they would like to see as far as changes that would allow them to make the tool even more user friendly or helping them in their job even
Right.
better?
Yeah, no, we've been testing and we'll continue to test to make those improvements.
And what kind of feedback do you have so far from those who are already testing it?
Right. Well, lots of feedback. People get really excited. We've spoken with a lot of experts who have contributed along the way. And what you were saying about the characters and the voices, those have been key points that people have made. Clearly, I mean, bullying leads to some really serious mental health crises. Suicide is definitely one of them. And it's not just children, it's adults, it's women leaving abusive relationships. It's all over the place. So we are not a replacement for a therapist. Bully Buddy is not a replacement for a therapist. And when those red flag words and comments come about, we direct them to emergency services. So can prevent things just by being able to do that, by giving the user a source to share their experience with.
That's amazing. I just love how you hope for this tool is to become like a technological partner, but in no way it's replacing a human being, of course. How much longer do you envision for testing to take place? When do you think would be like a timeline for when this tool can actually be available for any place, school, to try to implement? Do you maybe have like a timeline of these events?
Right.
I'm sure you
Well,
do.
so it's funny with technology because when we started, we weren't sure. We were building the prototype on different platforms and testing and then moving them to the next step. Yesterday, I had a call with my partners at Glee Labs, Ted Sims and Greg Lottis, and we are using Gemini Gem to test right now with, and it's like leaps and bounds further than we were last week. So we should have the first version of it available, I would say, in less than 3 weeks. Hopefully, fingers
Wow.
crossed. But then we're also building inside other platforms like Cadre, and those might take a little bit longer. But we'll continue to build, and we're now taking first seed investments into Glee Labs as they have other founders that they're helping develop their own AI projects to contribute to making the world a better place.
This is absolutely amazing. And what are some primary institutions, organizations you thinking about going with this product to? Is it mostly schools, like public schools, or there's no limit at first? Or
Well,
maybe
I
there,
mean,
yeah.
there's really no limit. There's so many, obviously, public schools, private schools. We mental health specialists. There's intuitive divorce who we've been talking to, who also believe that this could be a great tool for them in the future. In the court system, I think that that will be a game changer because in court you need documented evidence to prove anything. Bullying happens in the court system and it happens to people who are vulnerable, who are not able to stand up for themselves because of their financial situation. Their mental health has deteriorated because of the bullying, and so the person doing the bullying has discredited the person to the point where they don't really have any other options to stand up for themselves. So we want to support those people, the ones that need it. So yeah, limitless, definitely.
So very well said. And often bullying comes from the position of authority, and it's very hard to, when you're sort of a weaker person, to just stand up to it. In some cultures, it can be cultural that standing up to authority is not seen well. So there's a lot of these kind of situations that we deal with. And it just causes a lot of stress on people. Like you said, bullying has really detrimental effects, starting on children, but also on adults, because it's not just kids bullying kids, it's adults, adults bullying bullying children, right? So it really happens in all these different forms. I'm so excited to hear about that, and excited to hear, further development, where this is going, and I know it's going in some incredible places. And will you be reaching out to schools personally? How would you, if we can find out, like, what is the plan for getting the platform out there?
Yeah, well, so far it's all kind of falling into place on its own. LinkedIn has been amazing. The connections that I've developed through LinkedIn with other educators, with other advocates. I recently connected with another mom who is in the field of ending bullying herself because of her son who was born with dwarfism and has undergone undergone so much abusive behavior. And it's people that really want to make a change that just reach out themselves, and we develop relationships with them. I have a personal local relationship with a superintendent who, once we have the product ready, is ready to implement it into their school district. I think when something is really doing good for all involved, it just works. It kind of rolls on its own.
It does. And then people speak with people. And I would certainly love to mention the platform to my students who are, some of them are learning to be teachers, but some of them are already teachers. And it's just a matter of telling them about it so they know it's up to them where they take it. They might mention to a principal, depending on where they stand in the area of bullying. If some school districts, I think, struggle with that. So they would really benefit from this, and really anybody who would. And will it be sort of affordable for the school districts? Because that's probably also a factor for them to implement.
Yeah, yeah. No, so we'll have a free version, but then
Mhm.
we'll work things out to a point that works for everyone when implementing a system into the school district.
That's awesome. Free version so they can just find out about it,
Yeah.
familiarize themselves with it. Do we like it? Do we want to go further into the tool? That is just so exciting when it's ready to go in terms of being introduced to schools for actual implementation. Please let me know so I can let others know about the platform and about you, and then they'll just take it from there. It's just a matter of spreading the word about something that's cool, new, that many might just not know about.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you. I'll
Of
let you know.
course,
Yeah.
you're welcome. And Jess, if you could tell our audience where they can follow you to learn more as the product is further developed, and also so they can see a wonderful post. And I'm just telling everybody, you have to see Jess's posts on LinkedIn. The picture will grab your attention right away. It's amazing. And then you get into the depth of Jess's post, and captions are always very deep and always speak about something very important uh, to which everybody can contribute. It's very nice to be able to read your posts.
Thank you. Yeah, so I utilize AI in my LinkedIn posts with my images. My friend Kanika, she's the founder of Go Studio AI, and she is an amazing human and self-funded, bootstrapped startup who's taking over LinkedIn. You can look around, and there's so many influencers that are now also using her services. It saves on time, it's affordable, and it's attention grabbing. So, with something like bullying, a very serious topic, you need to stand out. You need to grab their attention in order to bring the attention that is deserved towards ending bullying. So shout out to Kanika, but I can be found on LinkedIn as well as Bully Buddy.
That's awesome. And so we invite everybody to check Jess's post and this initiative, because when you open the website, there will be a lot of information about the platform already. Please listen to our episode 2 and let us know what you think about it. Many will have opinions because this is something to do with AI, and everybody has an opinion about AI. I like to be somewhere in the middle, because anything extreme never really serves us very well. But let us know what you think about this conversation, what you think about platforms who use AI in a very meaningful way, not as a form of replacing people, such as psychologists and therapists, but in a completely different way to just make reporting bullying more simple for not just adults involved, but also for children. It's a helpful tool. So Please let us know what you think about this conversation and follow Jess. Also follow, of course, the show, Get Inspired with Dr. Barb, so you don't miss any episode ever. And we'll see you all on social media. Thank you so much, Jess. It was absolutely such an incredible pleasure to talk to you today.
Thank you, Barbara. It's an honor.
Thank you so much, Jess. Bye-bye. This is Get Inspired with Dr. Barb.